Hey, and welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair, and you have arrived at That VidBlaster Guy. Can you believe it? You made it. If you're watching us live, thanks for tuning in live. If you're watching us on YouTube, hey, thanks for tuning in on YouTube. Subscribe, and we'll send you a notice whenever we release a new show. VidBlaster's cool. VidBlaster is very cool. The premise behind our show is that one guy with one PC can do one awesome broadcast. Yeah, that's the whole concept. And it doesn't take, well, let me rephrase that. It does take a lot. I mean, you can do a pretty good broadcast with just a little, but to do an awesome broadcast, it takes a lot. What does it take a lot of? It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. You've got to invest a lot of time. It's like, you know, you and I can walk into a workshop, and there can be all sorts of cool tools, drill presses and lathes and all sorts of fancy stuff, and you know what you're doing, and I don't. And 2 hours later, you can come out with a beautiful finished product, and I've just got a raw piece of wood with some holes in it, because you've spent the time learning how to use your tools. And VidBlaster is like any other tool. In order to get the most out of it, you have got to take some time with it. And so we're going to take some time with it today and talk about audio. Yes, audio. It's not very exciting, but if it's not right, it's tragic. I mean, if audio's not good, it's, you know, everybody knows it and everybody changes the channel, as it were. But first, before we do that, I'm really excited. I have, on last week's show, you remember we talked about how to control 2 or more Logitech cameras using kind of a secret backdoor into the Logitech software. So if you missed that, go back and catch us on the, the last Wednesday in October 2014. That would be the show. And today, I mean, this is the Logitech C310 that we just got, was my third Logitech, and now we could control all 3 of them. But my Logitech C310, here it is right here, and I wanted to modify it so that I could use it for a kind of a, what would you call it, maybe a desktop cam. And so what I wanted to do, excuse me a second, I've got to sneeze. I'm sorry about that. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to mount it on a little stand. So I wanted to be able to take just a little old desktop stand like this one and mount it. But the Logitech C920 doesn't have, or excuse me, the C310 doesn't have a hole in it to mount a stand on it. So, you know, I thought, well, it's a $39 cam, $35 cam. What's the worst that I could do? Well, the worst I could do is blow it up. So I took out my drill and I said, I'm just going to drill a hole in it. And it's going to be about the right size, and I'm just going to count on friction to kind of keep it going. Once I screw that little nub up inside my hole. So I drilled a hole, and sure enough, it worked. How about that? So now we've got this really cool little stand on the desk. Let's see if you can you see it right here? Yeah, there it is right there. Don't have a whole lot of extension cord on it. And it allows me to get this cool shot on my desktop like this. And so that's the camera right there. Now the Logitech C310 is kind of perfect for these kind of shots because it doesn't have autofocus. Everything is in focus. So the depth of field, you know, doesn't matter. You've got things that are up close, you've got things that are far away, and all of it is going to be in focus. And it's got, I need to work out a way to get a little bit more cord on it. But, and I don't want to make you sick by doing this, but it does mean that I can take it and I can more easily demonstrate some things, especially if we have folks with questions in the chat room, and we can go in and take closer looks at different items and have an opportunity to see a little better what's going on. So let's get that set back up, because that's going to be a shot we're going to use later on. So that's the Logitech C930 with a slight modification using an electric drill, nothing fancy, and then a little cheap, what actually is a camera stand. It's just a camera stand. So we've got the Logitech. Now the Logitech C920 comes with that threaded fastener on the bottom of it, but the C310 doesn't. So you can sort of, it's not really threaded. I mean, I didn't take the time to thread it, but I did get it on. So it's pretty sturdy, and ought to hold out pretty well. Okay, all right. So that's out of the way. Oh, one other note, and we'll get to the audio here in just a second. I am a VidBlaster reseller, so this is full disclosure so that you understand where I'm coming from. And if you're interested in purchasing VidBlaster, you can do it. You can do it through vidblaster.com, or you can do it through me, that VidBlasterGuy.com, and get personal support from me. And I think that's worth it. That's worth it. So go to thatvidblasterguy.com, go to the store, and you can purchase any of the editions there. If you need an upgrade, either a version upgrade from like version 2 to version 3, or an edition upgrade like Home Edition to Pro Edition, I can help you with those too, but those need to be done manually, so you'll have to contact me by email. What else? Let's see. That ought to cover that part. The way VidBlaster handles audio, I really like, because what VidBlaster says is, I really don't want to handle audio. I want to let the mixer handle audio for the most part. And if I'm going to record audio, or if I'm going to stream audio, I want you to send me one source so that I can record it, one source so that I can stream it. And that really makes it kind of neat and much simpler, I think, to use, to have just that single audio source coming into your PC from your mixer. Now, there are lots of reasons to add additional inputs and outputs, and we'll talk a little bit about those. And the situations might be that you're doing a talk show like this one, and you want to have a Skype guest on, and you want to do mix minus, and that way the return audio to the Skype guest doesn't include their own audio, and so they get an echo or feedback, something like that. Maybe you want to include the audio from a video, or just the audio like we have in our theme music. And you want to include that in your show, and that audio is in VidBlaster. Well, VidBlaster needs to send that audio to the mixer, get it mixed up into the mix, and then have VidBlaster receive back from the mixer that one audio signal. So let me show you how I've done it. Now, I've got a Behringer USB mixer. It's the Xenix X1204 USB. That's it. And I've got lots of things hooked into it, but I want to really just focus on the relationship between the mixer and the PC today, and not talk about other kinds of inputs. So you might see some other things hooked up, so don't pay any attention to them. In this shot, sorry, this is not as good a shot as I'd hoped it was. You see right in the center the line in 5-6, a black input and a red input, and they're plugged into the left and right jacks there, and that's my 5-6 inputs. And by the way, red for right, that way you can always get your audio stuff, your stereo stuff hooked up right. Red for right and black for left. But red right is the cue. And this is audio that comes into my mixer that comes from my PC. Now this is stereo, so it's coming in left and right. It's being mixed right there on that one channel. And let's see for our next slide. Yeah. And that, if you can see the label down at the bottom, which covers up the 5/6, says Skype. And that's really kind of a misnomer, because at this point, this is the audio that comes from any player in VidBlaster. And before we get too far down the road, let me show you. I thought I had this set up right, but let me set up a real quick screen capture here. And we're going to do screen capture. And we're just going to do a selected area. Okay. And here's a screen cap. When I start out the show, I will click this effect module, and so this chroma key effect will be what you see, but I'm really playing it through the player right here. And then at the end of the show, I play this little player right here. And if I right-click these guys, it will bring up a menu, and one of the things that I need to select is the audio device. Well, you can see this one is set for speakers. Number 2, Realtek High Definition Audio, but it's speakers. Now, the other choices I have are speakers, number 2, Behringer USB, I guess you know what that is, WDM Audio 2.8.40, and then Realtek Digital Output to Realtek High Definition Audio, Realtek Digital Output Optical. Well, the last two here aren't really attached to anything, but they do appear as audio devices to the PC, so we'll just ignore those for the moment. So essentially I have 3 choices here in the player. One is no sound, which of course is no choice. The second is speakers, Realtek High Definition Audio, and the third is speakers, Behringer USB mixer. Well, even though they're both called speakers, really they're not both speakers. Just this one is really speakers, because this one actually is these. And remember, these are the inputs to the mixer. They are connected to the speaker jack at the PC. And let me see if I can find that slide here for you. Yeah, here we go. And this actually is, don't be confused, but this is a mic plugged in on the left and a speaker plug on the right. So the one on the right is really the one we want to concentrate on. This is actually the front panel of my production PC. So basically any audio that would come from a player such as this one, audio device, would go to the speakers. I'm routing it to the speakers on the PC right here, and then I would take that audio from that cable and it would go through the cable, and it actually splits and converts over to what does it convert to? I think it's RCA on one end, and then I've got an RCA to 1/4-inch adapter there. I don't think I'm using it right now, so I can unplug it and show it to you. Let's see if we can do that without screwing it up. And that's going to be the black and the red, and you see I've got this connector that's RCA female and then 1/4-inch male. Notice it's just got the one ring on it. Because it's mono, because I'm using 2 of them, and together they make stereo. So let me get those plugged back in, because we'll be needing those later. Red into the right. And if you didn't get it before, it's because both red and right start with the letter ARA. ARA. Okay, so we've got audio coming into the mixer from the PC, And this is coming from VidBlaster on the PC into the mixer and gets mixed up. All right, that's good stuff. I also have, and there's a lot going on in this picture, but let's see if we can't get it all dialed in. At the very top, you recognize that kind of square connector. That's the USB connector. And then underneath it, you see the two silver connectors. Those are XLR outputs from the mixer. Let's talk about those first. And that's what's called the main output on this mixer. So I'm taking both the left and the right channel from the mixer and sending it to the PC. Now this XLR cable basically just converts down the path a little bit to a 1/8 inch stereo male, and then I've got that plugged into an extension cord which plugs into the back of the PC into a mic port. And in this particular PC with this particular BIOS and this particular sound card that's built into the motherboard, I can tell this either to be line in or to be a mic in. And so I've chosen line in this particular case. So the main input into the PC of audio from the mixer comes here, and so when I want to tell the VidBlaster streamer or the VidBlaster recorder or the Wirecast streamer or the Wirecast recorder, when I say where to go to get the audio, this is where to go to get it. This is where to go to get it. All right. You know what? I just lied to you. This is where it goes. So that left side mic jack right there is where it goes. Let's go back. Let's see. We'll come back to that one in just a minute. And let's go back to this picture right here. The XLRs coming out the bottom are going from the mixer to the PC, and then the USB above that is kind of interesting. That's actually a dual direction, I guess you would call duplex audio. So it's actually sending audio from the mixer to the PC and receiving audio from the PC to the mixer. Aha, yes, yes. And that can get a little tricky because in that case, any audio that comes over this USB cable to the PC, you don't really have any control over it in terms of volume or EQ or compression or anything like that. It just comes in as an input into the mixer from the PC, that it is assumed that the volume control and the EQ and all that have already been established out there in the world somewhere. So if you're using VidBlaster again, and let me pull in the audio module. This particular audio module, this is the VidBlaster theme pumped up. And if we look, our audio device is set for the Behringer USB mixer. And we've done that because we have a volume control here on the side, so we can control the volume of this MP3 before we send it to the mixer. And if I had it maxed out right there, it would just blow your ears out. I mean, just really high. So we've got it just set up one little fraction above the lowest. Let's see if we got it here. Yep. There we go. So when we set this audio device to the Behringer mixer, we must have a way of controlling it in our software, or else we're not going to have any way to control the volume. For example, in the VidBlaster player here, if we set up the audio device for the mixer here, since we don't have any kind of volume control on this mixer, we would not be able to, we wouldn't be able to control the volume. That's essentially essentially it. So let's see. So sorry, we got off track right there. Let's go back to the USB. So we've got the USB on the mixer that is receiving audio from VidBlaster, from something like our audio module, and not our player module, because the player module doesn't have controls. And when that comes into the mixer, it gets mixed into the mix. So we're getting mixed into the mix. We could tell, we've actually got some choices. We could tell VidBlaster's recorder and streamer, or Wirecast's recorder and streamer, we could tell them to use the USB connection out of the mixer to pick up its mix if we wanted to. But we wouldn't have the ability to control the volume of it at the mixer. That's the downside with using the USB device to stream or record, is that we don't have any volume control per se. Now in Wirecast you've got volume control at your streaming recording level right there on your screen, but in VidBlaster with the streamer and the recorder, no, you don't have any volume control at this point. Maybe that'll be added later. So we're using the XLRs at the bottom that go into the mic jack on the front. So that's bringing in stereo audio to the mixer, and that's being picked up by VidBlaster, which is then being streamed out to the outside world and recorded. One other piece of this puzzle, because this is sort of a kind of a basic setup, basically what I would call an out and back. So we're sending audio from the PC to the mixer to get mixed up, and then sending it back to the PC to be recorded and streamed. And we're also, let's click back through our slides right here. Did I get a slide of that? No, I didn't. Doggone it. Sorry about that. Just out of the picture here at the top of this is an auxiliary send, what they call an aux send, AUXSEND, aux send. And that allows me to, you can Google aux sends and find out more about them, and Google something called mix minus and find out more about that. But the very long and short of it is, it allows me to determine what audio sources from the mixer go out over that channel, the aux send channel. And the aux send channel goes here into the back of my PC. And so when I have a guest on Skype, that's where his audio comes in. Excuse me, that's where the audio from me comes into the PC to go out to Skype. So I can control that I send him the music audio, and I can send him my audio and any other audio that's produced in VidBlaster. But what I don't want to send him is his own audio, because I don't want there to be an echo or a delay or any kind of feedback in the line at that point. So he's getting basically a dedicated audio channel just for himself. And at some point in the future, we might do a mix minus show, but you can Google mix minus, or actually go to YouTube, the #2 search engine in the world, and do a YouTube search on mix minus and come up with lots of great explanations, probably far better than I could do on that. Okay, so by way of review, if I haven't just blown you out altogether, on my mixer setup, I'm taking audio that comes out of the PC and bringing it into channels 5 and 6 on the mixer, which gives me stereo audio coming into the mixer from the PC. And I use that for my players, and actually my Skype guest comes in over this channel too, so I can control his audio separately. And that's how I would control the audio, with the sliders right there. And then going out of the back of the mixer is both USB and XLR. Oops, we'll get to that one in just a second. The XLR goes into the front in a mic port, and that second one there is where the feed comes to my mixer from 5 and 6, which is a speaker port. And then if I have a Skype guest, then I'm sending back audio to him on this one. And then, of course, the wild card is the USB there at the top, which is basically, I guess you'd call it just sort of raw audio. The mixer doesn't have the ability to control it, can't turn it down, can't turn it off, can't adjust the volume in any way. So you have to assume that whatever you're going to use for this, you can call it an extra channel. It's an extra connection, both coming and going, both mic and speaker, both input and output. But the software on your PC has to be able to control that one if you want to have any control on it. That's the long and short of it. That's audio. Hopefully that made sense. It may be the kind of explanation you have to listen to a time or two and then go play with your PC and your mixer, because everybody's mixer and everybody's PC have lots of different combinations of how they could be set up, and may not be as easy as mine. I will tell you, though, after several years of doing this, I have collected quite a supply of different adapters. So I can adapt to anything. Boy, I can adapt to XLR and USB and 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch and RCA and coax and splitters, and oh boy, which is really great because when you're trying something new, you don't have to wait and order a cable off of Amazon, and you've got it. And so it's been fun to do all that. Well, that brings us to the end of this segment. We hope if you're watching live, you'll hang out for our second segment, Streaming Idiots, where we'll talk about the new Wirecast 6 released yesterday and the new vMix tutorials out there, and then have a review of the Audio-Technica ATR 2100. If you're watching us on YouTube, we release That VidBlaster Guy on Wednesdays, and then the Streaming Idiots show, even though we go live, we're live to tape on that one, and we release that on Fridays. So we'll have that one up this coming Friday. Today is November 5th, so Friday would be November 7th. We'll have it up for you then. If you're watching live, hang around. We'll try to. Actually, there are a couple questions in the chat room. Let's see if we've got them. Why are you using both XLR and USB into the computer? Okay, I think we got that one. It's interesting. You don't have a volume control over USB. We have a mixer which has a variable USB input control. We use it for sound coming in from videos. That's cool, and that's going to be the difference from one mixer to another, especially probably from one brand to another, is that they do it a little differently. I used to have an old Alesis Multi-Mix 8 USB, and I think you actually had control over the volume in that one. So that brings us to the end of this show. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you're watching us from YouTube, subscribe and we'll send you a notice. Or if you never ever want to hear from us again, that's fine too. I certainly understand. I'm Tom Sinclair, That VidBlaster Guy. Look forward to seeing you again on a future show. Thanks for tuning in.